So I seem to be back in the land of the living now. I can now thankfully make videos without bursting into violent coughing fits. So I thank you guys for your patience and having to deal with the lack of content, assuming you actually care about what I have to say. But today, I'm going to be giving my 2 cents on something I've seen floating around for the past week and a half, really since the 23rd of December, the massive Day of Reckoning card, where Deontay Wilder got absolutely schooled, really, by Joseph Parker. He dropped a 12-round decision to Parker. Um, and this prevailing narrative, this notion that I've seen many people make videos about, comment on videos, is that Deontay Wilder is and always has been a fraud. And now I'm not interested in being the thought police. These are the opinions of these people, and power to them. I don't really care about what people think. All I'm going to do is present my own opinion on the topic and hopefully add a bit of nuance, a bit of objectivity to the discussion. Because personally, I feel like this topic once again highlights that boxing fans have an overly reactionary nature. In all my life, which admittedly isn't very long, boxing fans have always just come across as the most reactionary sports fans out there. And a lot of that, in my mind, is exemplified by one of boxing's most common sayings, which is, you're only as good as your last fight. And now that saying isn't without merit, of course. If you're basing a prediction on certain variables, a previous performance is going to definitely be one of them. However, I think it's a little bit blinkered to look only at a previous performance and okay, that now judge your standing in the boxing history rankings or whatever, like how we see you and how you're gonna basically be remembered and your legacy. Um, because there are so many variables that we have to consider when obviously looking at matchups and we're looking to make predictions, but also when we're looking to consider how good a fighter is or was. And I hear people say this after Wilder's lost to Joseph Parker, that he's no good and he's garbage and he always has been garbage and he's just overhyped rubbish. Um, and I think it was only a short while ago, really a couple of years ago, when Deontay Wilder was seen as being the second best heavyweight behind Tyson Fury, and he was getting credit for being, uh, you know, one of, if not the biggest punchers in heavyweight or boxing history. And as I say, he's the second best heavyweight behind Tyson Fury. And, Tyson Fury is the only guy who can stand up to him. Other than that, Wilder's going to wipe out everyone else. And it's a strange and quite jarring difference to now, fast forward in January 2024. He's just lost to Parker, and everyone's saying, oh, he's a fraud and he always has been. Well, you weren't saying that a couple of years ago. And I can't say this for sure, but it seemed like back in those days, a couple of years ago, that Deontay Wilder received, it was really just being showered with all kinds of superlative compliments and really unwarranted credit. And it was like it was a roundabout way of gassing up Tyson Fury. Um, and look, this is not a Tyson Fury dissing video or anything like that. I'm not trying to bash him or anything like that. Um, but there was this time where people were just so high on Tyson Fury that they wanted to basically give him credit for everything and anything he did, no matter how small or how big. He was going to get maximum credit for it. He really had a cult following, and a lot of that um, resulted or came from people inflating Deontay Wilder's ability. They made out like he was the greatest puncher in heavyweight history. He was the second best heavyweight behind Tyson Fury, and he was just going to lay waste to everyone else who he stepped in the ring with. But it was Fury, the special talent who could stand up to him um, and beat him on points the first time, even though it was a draw, and knock him out the second time, knock him out the third time. And look, credit to Tyson Fury for his performances, because when you consider the context, very good. But it was weird because it was the same thing that people really did when it came to Luis Ortiz, because let's be real, Luis Ortiz is probably the best win on Deontay Wilder's resume, and to make Deontay Wilder look better, they gassed up um, Luis Ortiz, particularly when Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua were in the running to fight each other around 2019 kind of time. They were making out that, okay, Wilder has beaten Luis, who is this completely avoided, unsung boogeyman of the division who, give him his moment and he's going to knock everyone out. He's going to stop everyone. He's going to be a problem. But Deontay Wilder's beaten him. And Deontay Wilder's beaten this guy who beat Bryant Jennings back in the back end of, 2015. And that's his best win, at the time at least. Let's gas up Wilder. So let's gas up Luis Ortiz to make Wilder look better, make out as if he's got a better resume than Joshua. And then that snowballed because Tyson Fury came back and his comeback was in full flow. And then people started gassing up Wilder to make Fury look better. It's this weird kind of food chain effect where you got Tyson Fury at the top, then it's Wilder, then it's Luis Ortiz. But now, Deontay Wilder loses to a fellow former champion in Joseph Parker, and all of a sudden it's garbage. And it's just, I don't know, this kind of stinks to me. I feel like people are almost like they're pinning their hopes up on a certain guy, and then he loses. Like, oh, useless, garbage. He was never that good anyway. Let's just forget all the things we said before over the past few years. And, I'm not trying to say that's everyone who holds that opinion. Some people, and I'm sure they're out there, they've probably just always thought that Wilder was a fraud and never even, never once was on the bandwagon. Me personally, as I say, I feel like I give a nuanced opinion because I consider that heavyweight boxing is a very strange thing, particularly when you have divisions that are super stacked with dangerous guys, talented guys. Strange things can happen. Guys are just going to, I don't even want to say it's really that strange. It should be a given when you've got so much talent in a division, so much ability, but so many glaring weaknesses. Guys are going to trade wins and losses. It's really just that simple. I think, like many times in boxing, this has been the result of pinning your hopes on a guy to be the best or to beat the majority of fighters. And it just doesn't work like that. It doesn't matter who you hope to win. It doesn't even really matter who you think will win. It's about who wins. I've said in the past, oh, I suspect that guy's the best. I think he's probably the best in the division. Operative term being I think, because it doesn't really matter what I think. It's just an estimated guess. It's a prediction. What matters is what happens when these guys get in the ring and fight. And to predict that as best you can, you have to consider a lot of variables. And kind of what I said at the beginning of the video, when you're really trying to rank how good someone is based on their legacy and such, you have to consider a lot of variables. And look, this is not a Deontay Wilder coping video. Deontay Wilder deserves a lot of criticism. A lot of the criticism that he receives is completely warranted. He has blocked certain fights from happening. He has a very weak resume. He has basically had one of the easiest title reigns in recent years, received a hell of a lot of favours. Shelley Finkel saying, oh, he's not going to unify with Klitschko because he's just a baby. Man was like 30-something fights deep, and he's just a baby. You can't win a title and still just be a baby. No, that's nonsense. But on the flip side, you got to give Deontay Wilder credit because he does have ability. You don't go to the 2008 Olympic Games and win bronze. And I know people are going to say, oh, but that's the Olympic Games, it's amateur boxing. Yeah, but it's still the highest level of amateur boxing. And Deontay Wilder got there and won a bronze. How many bronze medalists do you know in the Olympic Games? But yeah, amateur boxing, okay, move on to the pros. He's a former champion, had a very weak title reign. Best opponent is Luis Ortiz. But you also can look at the way he dealt with his opposition. At a bare minimum, Wilder's a very athletic heavyweight, got a serious punch and a serious heart. You can't look me in the eye I know I don't go on camera, but you couldn't look me in the eye after watching his fights, Deontay Wilder's fights with Fury, particularly the second and the third fights, and tell me he doesn't have heart, because he does. Deontay Wilder has a championship heart. You know, you have to nail this guy to the canvas to stop him from trying to knock you out. And you know, other than the Joseph Parker fight, he's managed to inflict some serious damage on a lot of his opponents. So once again, undeniable power. But he's a fighter with limitations. You know, I think a lot of people fell into the trap of gassing up Wilder in a roundabout way, of gassing up Fury to make out that Fury is the best, because they were following some kind of cult mindset that Tyson Fury, you know, he had infected the brains of many people, because he's a charismatic guy, and you know, they kind of see him as a people's champion because he's a fat slob that, you know, probably he likes a beer and a pizza on the sofa, just like the average guy, that kind of thing. I get it. But let's be real. We're looking at the heavyweight division, as I say, stacked, full of talent. It's unlikely that any of these guys are going to reign supreme in the sense of they beat everyone and it's, oh, you're head and shoulders above the rest. No. These guys, they're going to win some, they're going to lose some. That's just what happens in boxing, especially heavyweight boxing. You know, we just have to kind of get over it. So what I will say is that, no, I don't think Deontay Wilder is a fraud. He's just overrated, you know, overhyped, which if you look at any fighter with a sizable and meaningful following, they're probably going to be overrated to some degree anyway, you know, particularly when people, as I say, they feel like they have a stake in the matter, like, oh, he's my favorite fighter, he's the best. You see it all the time. Like, people look at Mike Tyson's early resume especially, and they trying to make out like he was fighting these dangerous journeymen. You know, yeah, they were journeymen, but they were super dangerous contenders, blah, blah, blah. Like, trying to make out that, like, James Tillis and Mitch Green were like uh, these danger men back in the day. It's like, no, this wasn't the case. They were journeymen. It happens, you know, trying to inflate the achievements of fighters, and even if it goes, even if you have to go to the fighters that they're fought, like a Luis Ortiz, and gas him up as well. Yeah, I'm kind of waffling on at this by this point, but ultimately, nah, I don't think Deontay Wilder's a fraud. I think he's a fighter with ability, but also with limitations. He deserves credit for some things, but he also deserves criticism for other things. Just like virtually every one of his contemporaries at heavyweight. It doesn't absolve him of anything, but you know, if you call him a fraud, you kind of take away credit from Tyson Fury for beating him, for Joseph Parker for beating him, you know, and it's just not the case. It's styles make fights, that kind of thing. There are so many variables that come into it. It's not as simple as you're good, you're bad, you know, not in many cases. You know, if you want to look at someone like Mark Demori, no disrespect, you can be like, yeah, all right, you're not very good, but at the highest level, it's not as simple as that. At least I don't think. But hey, what the hell do I know? Leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll be glad, maybe, to read them. But yeah, nevertheless, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.